note about myself, I have been a very exciting, I guess, creature of business and life and enthusiasm when it comes to sharing and nurturing the truth about self and about how to do business, because I've really enjoyed it. So I've been in business for now, oh my God, you might want to say 45 years. That's a long time, but I was a baby when I started my first business. And our first business was on my street back in the 60s. I would go into my neighbors' homes, and I enjoyed it so much. I would go and Ms. Cox, Ms. Jackson, they lived like 2 or 3 doors down. And what they asked me to do is just come in and dust. I mean, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock. I will go, Miss Cox, you want me to dust? Yes. I'm like 10, 11 years old. And so I would go, and she would give me the polish and the rags and stuff, and I would take them and go under the table and dust. And I would fall asleep, right? It's like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Miss Cox would say, Pam, are you okay under there? I'm like, yes, Miss Cox. She would be asleep, but it was something that I was encouraged, I was interested in. And ever since then, I really found my way. My journey was entrepreneurship, ever since then. And I've enjoyed it. I've learned a lot. I'm interested in sharing what I know. And it has been very, very good to me. Entrepreneurship has been very good. It's just taught me a lot. So pretty much that's who I am. I've written a couple of books, Future Champs, back in the 80s. And Future Champs, and I'm sorry I should have brought a couple of them out and showed you Future Champs, but I don't think this is really, really about me and what I have done. It's about what's going on now. At the Alphabets. Alphabets is an inspirational book that, for F's and anything that starts with an F, like foster and favor and faith. And, it is just encouraging individuals to look primarily to God, but have a spiritual side and be inspired by life, So those will come out. I mean, they're on Amazon. Just look under Pam Grear, Grear. And those books are ebooks as well. So you can download them and have fun and enjoy. Other than that, Renee and I go way back, and we have constantly talked about different projects. And one project in particular here currently that I'm very, very interested in, and that's the nursing home neglect situation. It is rampant. It is just has affected a lot of our family lives, and particularly mine, even though it ended up being a wonderful spiritual experience, having my mom with me in her last days. I just couldn't see her spending her last days with strangers and dying in their care. So, and the other spiritual thing about it is when I did this, I started recognizing a lot of spiritual connectivities through what was going on. And I'm the 7th child. My mom came back for completion. She completed me in that 7th child completion spiritual experience. It was phenomenal. So we'll get into that later. But pretty much that's when I'm trying to retire. But every time I say that word, other things pop up and like, you may have to go do this, girl, whatever, but I'm going to get you, because that's what I'm working. That's my goal. You got to have a goal in life, in every parts of your life. And that's my current goal, is to really, truly retire. And when I say retire, it means to be able to do what you want to do for you at any given time. And not because you have to, because you want to. Right. So is that enough, Renee?
That does open the door and some segues. We'll start back. Pam and I met at church. Wow. Rashana's 22.
22 years in.
So I came here in 97, the beginning of 97. And and I met Pam back then. Pam wasn't retired. She was very strong in business, running a multi-million-dollar business. And Pam has been a mentor to me, and still is, because she'll call me. She was like, Renee, I didn't like that. That's boring. She doesn't like the color of my walls. Just
boring.
Yeah, boring.
As you can see, put some flowers up there, girl. I mean, I'm just gonna have to come over and bring some art or something.
Yes. I can go, and which leads to, she has a community center, which she has fed the community in Columbus for many years, provided jobs for people. There's nothing Pam hasn't done. She sold art, selling art. She has antiques.
Jewelry.
I found out that she had an antique store at one time.
Empathy.
And so I get to experience life with Pam in her retirement stage, which I put her to work every so often. She do that. I sit on her board at her community center. So I get to do life with her, and it far exceeds anything that I do, but I'm just holding on for the ride. But we had some concerns, especially during COVID, about our parents. My parents had passed away already. My mom was in a nursing home. And so even back then I was concerned about how, it was kind of devastating for us that my mom, had more energy than us, in her right mind. And then like overnight, she just stopped living. And so that was hard for us. And because I was her POA, I had to make a decision to put her in a nursing home, because I had set up nursing teams to come out to her apartment, but she wouldn't let them in. And so I'm thinking it would be the same thing if I had moved her in. I never had a desire to put my parents in a nursing home. But nonetheless, at the beginning, we would go in and wash her clothes. My sister and I would take turns doing that. But it was hard. It's hard to keep up with their belongings, because with dementia, they just go into each other's rooms. And then we washed her clothes, but occasionally, an item would get with the bigger laundry and we would never see it again. We would pick mommy up, and we would have to bring her home and give her a shower, because they didn't bathe them every day. And, we were just kind of disappointed. But to come fast forward, COVID hit. And so Pam has some experience there about, sorry, Pam, I lost the camera there. Let me find you again. So share some of your concerns that you had.
Well, not knowing about the system until my mom had to go and stay there. The biggest problem with her is she had short-term dementia and she was forgetting to eat. Now, I'm in Columbus and my mom's in Cleveland. So when I would go to Cleveland, my siblings would say, oh, she said she ate. But I would look into the refrigerator and the same food was in there that was delivered, which is getting Meals on Wheels. And she was staying with my oldest brother, who she would take care of him in a dementia state, because that's just how situation he was in. So she was starving to death. I mean, she thought she was eating, she was forgetting, she was saying she was eating, and no one really dove deep into the real situation. She wasn't eating and she was losing weight and she was looking, that way when I saw her. So I ended up calling adult services, because I knew that they would do a quick assessment, and their assessment is always through the hospital. So if you ever have any concern, you want to go through adult services. Even if you have to tell them, I mean, it's an emergency situation. I don't know whether she's being abused or neglected or whatever, but she was neglecting herself because she wasn't eating, wasn't taking her medicine or anything. So we got her over to the facility, and the facility was chosen by my siblings because I'm, not real familiar with Cleveland, haven't been there in a long time. And she went in. We liked the facility. It was really nice for the first couple of years, in fact. She was doing great. She was doing great. She even had found herself a companion. And Mr. John and she was just lovely together. And I'm proud to say that this is my mommy. Sir, yes, sir. You can see her, and she became very, very active. And this is she and Mr. John. And so they would hang out, and he wanted to marry her. We thought we would have a married situation. Oh God, this is roadside assistance. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get my car towed. So mom was very active in the nursing home. She did Bible study. She played bingo. She associated with all the people. She ate all of her food. She ate very well. She started gaining weight. She had Mr. John, and she would just travel throughout the hallways, and they would hang out at the TV spots. But Mr. John was more interested in mom than mom was interested in Mr. John. However, she just kind of liked him as a companion because he was very interested in her, and very handsome man too. He was an entrepreneur, very handsome man, bunch of gray hair. She would comb his hair. He had a long ponytail, but she was very active. She was very mobile. She would push Mr. John around in his wheelchair. Okay. So as of August of 2020, okay, when the whole pandemic thing was going on, they were still hanging out. They couldn't keep Mr. John from her room. And then they said that she had contacted COVID. No symptoms, asymptomatic. And then they put her on the second floor away from Mr. John, away from everybody. And that's when the neglect started. The neglect is real. It's worse than abuse. When you put anybody in four walls and just feed them food and give them medication, and that's all they see of you, when they go from totally active to 25% of their day is people feeding them and then giving them medication, that's pretty hard. My mom is 96 years old as of May 18th. Very hard on seniors.
Yeah.
Then they lost a lot of their staff. So they had no one on the second floor to really pay attention to her. And that's when she either fell, who knows? And she laid there for 5 days with a broken femur. So then the nursing home did not call me, did not call my siblings for 5 days. She sat there until they got ready to send her to the ER. She started complaining about her leg being too bad to walk on. And so we really don't know what's going on. But for those days, I'm in Cleveland trying to get to the nursing home, trying to get someone to call me. They're not calling, answering the phone. They're not calling you back. If you talk to someone, you don't know who their nurse is. It was disastrous. And I'm so grateful right now, people, that FEMA is giving money to those who have lost their parents in nursing homes, or anyone to COVID. But particularly this nursing home situation is even worse. So there's a lot of attorneys who are setting up practices to deal with this nursing home abuse, neglect. And you know what Como did in New York? Yeah, he fudged the numbers on how many died in their nursing homes. It was absolutely atrocious what he did. Most of the stuff these nursing homes do to these people through desperate times are just, I mean, it's nothing but pure evil. So You talking about injuries and abuse and neglect, and you talking about just loneliness and bed sores and improper care and medication that they're not given. And, you know, it was horrible. It's already horrible. It's even worse when there's a pandemic.
Right.
You know, so I'm, you know, through this whole experience of my mom, and then she started declining. So you're talking June, you know, COVID, July, August, and you have, and what they do is they stick you in this cell, I would say, for 10 days. And then they put you back on the same floor. But she didn't make it out because while they were having her there, she then became dehydrated. And when older people become dehydrated, they end up with a UTI, they end up feeble-minded. That's a lot of traumatic, you know, just trauma on them all the way around. So now you have a traumatic situation where you got a broken leg, you dehydrated. So they called me and said they sent it to the ER. ER? Why? Then they had to break it out and say, oh, no one called you and told you that she fell and she broke her leg. But when was this? 6 days ago. So why is she just not going to the ER? Well, we didn't know it was broken. I'm like, okay, get her over there to the ER. And then everything started declining from then. So, you know, it was worse enough in these nursing homes. I always heard about the problems, but you have to kind of watch these nursing homes like you watch the schools that your babies go to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, so right now, we set up a business called Extended Care for Family Keepers. We need to keep our loved ones. We need to know what's going on with them. And the beauty in this, if you want to take any beauty out of it, is that when my mom finally did decline to the park, to the you know, time that she was ready to just go in 96, I'm like, okay, mom, what you want to do? I don't want no more IV in my arm. I don't want nobody sticking me. I just want to be left alone. Her arms were black and blue, trying to put the needles in, and people pulling on her. And it was, and I have pictures of all of it. It was just amazing, horrible, horrifying experience. But I want people to know that this is what happens.
Right.
If you don't take care of your parent, like if you don't take care of your child, they will be abused and neglected, and they will be devastated and traumatized. You know, I mean, some kids think they're devastated and traumatized, and you've been taking care of them all their life. However, you know when a child is abused, traumatized, and not taken care of.
Right. Now, just under normal circumstances, you know, you're concerned, family members are concerned, but during COVID, that just was unbearable. Sure.
I'm grateful that there are a lot of dollars out there to try to make that wrong right. You never make it right when your parent is dead.
Right.
However, there are a lot of expenses that are incurred during that time, and you can recover some of your expenses. I would like to see that through this interview, Renee, and however we can get it out, is that we create some type of family information to disseminate what we know, and then get a group of family keepers. And that we just have regular conversations, because I'm going to tell you, I would have never thought that I could care for my mom at home. And she was at her worst state. I went to Cleveland and I got her, had a friend of mine, a pastor friend of mine, put her in his very comfortable vehicle, and we rode from Cleveland Clinic Hospital to my home. Now, I have a very small home. I downsized 2 years ago, and I stay in an apartment, but it was okay. I moved everything out of my living room, put her in front of the window, gave her the fresh air and the sunshine. The vitamin D did her well, and she was so happy until the day she passed. And that was another experience too, the day she passed. Well, I think she passed before she stopped breathing, but you know, clergy would say that they go when the last breath go. But I saw her arms up. I saw her praying, and it was a wonderful experience. And I think that's when God, she was ushering up, and that's when God took her, you know? So it was a sweet, very sweet goodbye. Her obituary was written for all who have forgotten what my mom has done. Mm. And people will over the years. You know, she's 96 years old. Mm. So I had to remind some people in her obituary. And if you're interested in reading it, please do so, because it's quite interesting. Mom would not allow us to do food stamps, and I never had experienced someone knocking on our door for rent money. Mm-hmm. Never had. We always had tenants. We were never a tenant. So all of her homes she purchased, you know, and very giving, strong, and that's where I get my strength from. Strong-hearted soldier. I mean, you talking about a soldier for the Lord, and a soldier out here doing her thing. She did her thing, man. So I'm grateful that she came back around to the seventh child, which was completion. And that's the significance in, you know, your parent and loving on them and knowing about them, being grateful. And ever since, and she told me, she said, girl, you don't have to worry about nothing. I got you. So I talked to her more than I've ever spoken to her being deceased. And I feel her spirit more than I've ever felt her spirit. But what man will do for you or do to you, God will reward you in the end, you know, and give you sevenfold for your troubles. And so I have been truly blessed, as she told me that I would be. A lot of things have occurred in my life in the last 2 weeks. So I'm just saying that what I would like to do is to do more, have more conversations about family keeping, mm-hmm. loved ones. Mm-hmm. And sharing with you how you can keep your loved one at home. Hospice, oh my God, hospice. I think a lot of people have hospice kind of, you know, wrapped up with death. Mm-hmm. But some people can come out of hospice. If you're going to come out of hospice, you're going to come out of hospice. Yeah. You just don't let them do the things that they want. Like, you're the controller. You're the most important caretaker. They didn't make me give medicine to my mom. Some medicine they brought up, and I said, she's not taking that. Well, if she don't, you know, she's going to be uncomfortable. Well, did she say she was uncomfortable? Well, she never complained. Did she say no, but I know she's uncomfortable when a man would pick her arm up and she had a little wrinkle that would come up here. And he said, see, she uncomfortable. I said, no, she wondering why you got her hand all up in the air. You know, so in the hospital, doctors would say, well, you know your mother better than we do. So what do you think that you want to do? I said, I want her to come off of those drugs that you have her on. She don't need to be on those drugs. She didn't need those harsh drugs that were making her drowsy and aggressive and, out of sorts. And I'm like, why is she doing it? And look at the drugs that your parents are taking. You will be quite surprised. Matter of fact, look at the drugs that you're taking. Mm-hmm. You'll be quite surprised. Mm-hmm. And they would want to give her all this and turn around. She had, she said her feet were hurting. So they wanted to give her some Neparin and wanted to give her some morphine because her feet was hurting. I said, no, we're going to give her some CBD oil. This is one of my products. CBD oil. I rub CBD oil. I put CBD oil in her Ensure, because that's all she would drink. And I rubbed the recovery gel on her feet. And she's like, oh my God, it feels so good. She didn't have to take no medicine. I'm telling you, you have to do what you need to do to keep your people alive, because no one else will.
Right.
So I just want to create a group, if we can, Renee, some kind of way that we can start talking about these issues. Mm-hmm. And like I said, there's a lot of finances that are out now that I like to share to help you recover all the expenses that you went through, and to, answer any questions. I think that loved ones who are caring for their elderly at home, I like to see, what is it you need? I put together a little list of things that I needed for self-care, because taking care of your parent is, I tell you, or anyone by yourself, when they are declining, and you need some self-care stuff for to stay alive. Every ounce of energy in my body was drained, and I didn't know it, because I was up all night just listening to her and just wanting to just hear what she had to say in the middle of the night. And she would call me, hey, come in here. Where are you? I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm like, well, right here. Just call me when you need me, okay? And then I'll say, Mom, I'm really tired, so I want you to go to sleep. I want you to sleep all night, okay? And do you know she would? So she understood that I needed my rest too. And she wouldn't wake up or bother me until, 10, 11 o'clock. And I was just so grateful. But we had that whole connection going at the end of the day. And it brought so much joy, so much joy. So Renee, I'm grateful to have this opportunity to bring this, to the air, so to speak, media. I think we need to talk a lot more about it, because people are really feeling that they're not equipped to take care of their own loved ones. And you can do that. You can do that.
And I think a lot of, we're in a different day and age, to whereas we used to take care of, our parents,
for sure,
and grandparents. And then I think now your mom was in her 90s, but, my mom was in her 70s. So that wasn't expected. We're in our minds putting it off further, and we just have to be prepared. It's happening earlier versus later. Your mom lived a good life. I did read her obituary, and was saying how she fed the people. You did the same thing that your mom did, what you saw your mom do. And so she lived a long life, and I felt that, because of the life that she led, caused her to live to 90. So, but
absolutely,
it's happening much sooner for a lot of other people. So we just need to be prepared, like you said, and know that we can do it.
And the other thing I would like to share is that she was very intuitive, so and I think we forget to think about how long we're gonna live. We never know, but you don't want to have your loved ones struggling. So Mom had all her burial arrangements and everything all taken care of. And when I went to the burial, the guy said, man, he paid for this stuff back in 1998. And do you know, you cannot get what she paid in 1998 for all of her stuff. You can't even buy a casket for it today. And so I had to explain that to my siblings and my nieces and nephews. And it's like, you guys need to understand that when you die, it's going to be very expensive. So you better make sure that somebody got you covered, or you have somebody covered, so they can take care of you. And we don't think about that either.
So you didn't have to do a GoFundMe account for your mom?
We didn't have to do that at all, baby. No, in fact.
You said 7, so she didn't say, well, hey, let me, I'll be okay. My kids are going to take care of me. She said, she had that all taken care of.
That's the kind of woman she was. She was a phenomenal woman. And I was at the, head of her tombstone. Phenomenal woman. If they could only, if we could say that there's, even Maya Angelou, who, that was her phrase and her creation of phenomenal woman. And I even used some of her words in her obituary, because she was so fitting. She didn't walk around with her head down. She knew, she walked in the room, you should be very proud of her because of many of the things. And it was like, it was in the grace of her back and the strength of her brow. And she didn't hold her head down. I've never seen Mom complain. She would step around and say, I can do this, and she would do that. And it was a wonderful experience. Now, I'm the youngest of 7. And the others didn't see that. But I did. And that's why I wrote the obituary, to remind them, this was our mother. I don't know what you saw or what you were doing, but this was her. So it was a fabulous experience, girl. I'm telling you. And I know that there are more experiences like this among other people who would want to share and don't want to see their parents mistreated.
With the business that you came up with, just share a little bit how that's going to help family members have better control of knowing what's going on with their parents while they're in the nursing homes.
Well, the mission of extended care for family keepers is for families to know and have information about caring for your loved ones. Mm-hmm. If you have problems caring for your loved ones, we want to do, a little inside booklet to share how you can take care step by step for your loved ones. If you have any problems with your loved ones being in the nursing homes, then these are some actions that you can take to make sure you stay on top of them. Like ombudsman, I was really impressed with the ombudsman group. And in fact, I thought that I would become a volunteer and just to get a little more insight on how they work. But I was kind of disappointed that they wouldn't fight for going into the nursing homes, even though it was a pandemic. You work for these nursing homes and you can't go in them. So when I couldn't get anybody to answer the phones, I went out into the hood and I asked a couple of young men, I'm like, can y'all come back to me? Because I'm going to go up in this nursing home and see what's going on. I needed to do a wellness check. Mm-hmm. Who's going to do a wellness check for you? So I was just going to go up in there, and so it just got that critical, and you need to know what to do. So I end up, people, have me call councilmen in the area, and there's a lot of things that you do and you have to do to protect your loved ones, because if not, they will come out with bed sores and broken bones and breaks that you would never even know of, and bruised faces because they've fallen and nobody was there, and horrible things, and death come out in a body bag. I just couldn't see it. I couldn't even imagine it. So I said, no, she's not going to another nursing home. She's coming right home with me. Mm-hmm. Because COVID, they isolate you and then they neglect you. It's almost like an intentional thing, but that's all they knew to do. That's what the CDC said to do. And I think that was the craziest thing that you could ever do is you can always keep your distance and let them wear masks. If that's what's supposed to solve the problem,
right?
Put them in a big room. Why you have to stop all the activities?
Right.
These are older people that don't understand none of that.
Right.
So they end up dying. Death is the best situation. That's ludicrous. And they need to pay for that.
And even in that state, they know that they are being neglected.
They do. So people just stop caring for me. I can't talk to nobody. I got to look at these walls. And, the television that probably really don't even work. Nobody turns it on. They don't remember to turn it on. It was devastating, guys. And so I like to talk to more people. I've heard of some real hideous, crazy situations that other people have gone through with their loved ones and just didn't know what to do about it. Mm-hmm. So if we can, through extended, care for family keepers, and then even going forward after the pandemic, they're opening the nursing homes back up, but what kind of surveillance do we have? Mm-hmm. What kind of surveillance or watch can you really watch and see what's going on? Because who knows what's happening behind these closed doors?
So true.
There's sexual abuse. There is, not only neglect, but they beating the old people up because they might be saying something. They don't want to do something. They're not going to force them, But if they got to have, and some people come to work, these young people come to work and they're only making $8, $9, $10 an hour. They're not going to take care of that woman that's pooped all over herself, or that man who's smelling really bad. They ain't going to take care of her like they're going to take care of their. I'm telling you, you guys, you can take care of your own. And another thing is cheaper, because whatever you have, you keep that house. They have, you got your own finances. But now don't be greedy and just take your loved one's stuff and then you don't take care of them, because you go into jail if you do, then you go into hell as well. But for the most part, you can do this. You can do this if you want to. And that's what I would like to encourage more through extended care for family keepers.
On that note, when you're on Medicaid insurance, that's where insurance comes in. So if you're just Medicaid, then, you have to, you can't go into it with assets. And that's what Pam's talking about. But if you have Medicare, then, you're paying out of pocket. Medicare pays 80%. And then you would have to supplement the 20%. But there is a difference in the homes and the care. So,
exactly.
But for the most part, yes, they will definitely get better care at home. Matter of fact, I think things are changing because, like with assistant residential care, they would prefer your family members to stay home, and so there's again, money's available for that. People do it as a business, so just something to think about. And for those that are in the group, I will drop, because Pam, I'll drop your article that you sent me along with the video, so it all ties together. You sent it for an attorney.
I'm sorry.
You sent a link for an attorney.
Oh yeah. So there's so many out there. If your loved one, like mom, she really declined. She had broken bones. She went in the hospital under neglect. So my siblings are suing, and I said, y'all go ahead. I allowed her to live as long as she did. You go in and do that part, and if you need me, because I have all the medical records and everything, and no problem. But right now, after going through this wonderful spiritual experience with her, I need to get my life back. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And the attorneys they're biting at the bit, because they're taking every case, they're suing them left and right. And because they, rightfully so, they should never. And there should be I think there should be a law passed. If 5 or more people, I don't know what it should be, but we need to get the numbers, Renee. But if 5 or more people come out in body bags a week, you need to close down. You need to close your center down, because that's a mess. And everybody has board members. They need to go to work. If you can't find helpers, why are you on the board? You need to go to work, and quit killing these people, and because they feel that, older people, when we get in our 70s and 80s-year-olds, what, they're going to try to get rid of us? That's another thing that you need to talk about in your family keepers.
Look,
what does your retirement look like? Are you prepared so that you won't have to go to a nursing home? And there's a lot of things right now that you can do before you get 85, like get some insurance. And then you can determine and say what you want to happen when you leave this earth.
Right. Versus having a government facilities take care of you.
Or your children try to figure out what to do with your body because you didn't prepare for yourself. It's just something we need to really think about. So in this business, that's part of the mission of trying to disseminate information to people, how they can take care of their loved ones at home, and then also take care of yourself and teach your legacy how to get into position to take care of themselves. Because a lot of people waiting for the insurance money to drop. And when that insurance money drop, they're just gonna burn your body, put you in a bag or some little cheap urn. Like one of my nieces, her father died. She ride him around in the back of the trunk of her car because she forgot to take him out and just happened to mention it. And I said, he probably turning over in heaven or hell or wherever he is. How can you do that? Well, he don't know. He dead. I said, you don't know what he know. She just moved, and she didn't take him out of the back of her car yet. I'm like, that's hard. That's just heartless to me. It's heartless to me. So, but that's what you get when you don't prepare for your last days. Mom prepared for her last days. And I tell you, it was commendable because we didn't have to struggle. She had everything. And what I did do is I had to move her burial site so that we could have room around her because they had her with a bunch of strangers. I said, no, move her down a little bit because I want my grave site right next to hers. I got an older brother that may be, interested in the next one. And whoever, I told them, whoever, the pastor said at the burial site, he said, I have never come to a funeral and there was a sale. That was land sale. I said, hey, you got to do it when you can. You just have to do it when you can because these knuckleheads ain't thinking about nothing. They don't even have life insurance. Half of them, and they're in their 40s or 50s. They don't even have life. They don't even know what it will take. So I tried to give them as much knowledge because my mom was the last in her generation. She was the matriarch. She's last in her generation. So now it's my turn. We're now the generation that's left. And then everybody's below us. She was the last of 7. So we have to teach and get it in when we can fit it in. And it was at the gravesite. So
that's wonderful. And Pam, we thank you so much for bringing awareness to the topic. I'm sure that there's going to be people that will have something to say and like, oh, I thought it was just me, and we'll be so grateful to know that, there's people out there that is going to solve that problem, that a lot of families have faced during this time and even before time. And so for those that are watching, Pam, how could people get in touch with you? Where can we find you?
Well, I'll give you a website. It's Pamela F. Grear, Grear, at gmail.com. And so that's the website. That's my personal website. I'll get, and you know what? The most exciting thing is that when I was sharing my mom's experience when she was here, it was so funny. A lot of her experiences when she was here, I was sharing them, and I had a lot of people on Facebook, comment, and they were like, oh my God, and I didn't even know these people. And some people I did know. And it's like, oh my God, that is so wonderful. I never even thought, that's just awesome that you could take care of your parent. Well, why not? I couldn't imagine not doing so, but then I heard a lot of people, I've gotten videos of people sharing with me, their 90-year-old parents and their children are taking care of them and how they're doing it. So there is a desire. There is a desire. And when there's a desire, you can make it happen. So we want to, with extended care for family keepers, want to help you fulfill that desire because it's a wonderful thing. And don't be afraid. We all gonna go. We're all gonna go. I went to a girlfriend's funeral yesterday. She was only 51 years old. We're all gonna go, And I told her children, I said, but if you can look at your mother and smile, every time you look at her and you can remember, she left a legacy. So look at her and smile and just know that, we're always going to see her, or you may not, I don't know for sure. But, go the way you want to go. That's the biggest thing. Go the way you want to go. And she did not want to go around no strangers. And I made sure that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it did something for you too. So.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It was the most spiritual experience. It was the most wonderful experience. I thought it would be morbid, scary. I tell you what, one of the hospice nurse told me, said, well, it looks like your mom is going to pass real soon here. And we generally have a critical nursing team that would come and like stay all night. Mm-hmm. I'm like, really? Okay, so can you please bring them in? Because if you're telling me that this is getting ready to happen, I mean, at this point, she had ushered up and then she just was breathing. She was just constantly breathing. It's her heart is so strong. My mom used to walk miles and miles and miles. Her heart was so strong. Her heart was just breathing and breathing. And then she stopped eating, stopped drinking, and she breathed on her own. And he says, but we don't have anybody available. I'm like, what you mean you don't have nobody available? You mean to tell me I have to sit here and watch her die without any of you guys? I thought that was part of the hospice plan. What happened?
Right, part of the package.
You know what he said to me? He said, baby girl, I guess God got something for you. I'm like, what does that mean? Guess God got something special for you. I'm like, oh my God, for real? But it was all good. I sat here with her like a trooper, like I knew she would do me. You hear me? I knew my mom wouldn't leave me. So the day she ushered herself up and she went on to the Lord, I saw that and I saw a little angel. I saw a little angel peppering right behind me. I said, my mama went up. Even though she's still breathing tomorrow, she went up yesterday. So I was good. And they came in to, they do their whole last cleaning and that kind of stuff. And when they started messing with her, that's when she stopped breathing. Mm-hmm. But she was gone. Mm-hmm. She was absolutely gone. I know she was gone. Mm-hmm. So it was a beautiful experience. I wouldn't have done anything different. But I just want to share with others that it's a good spiritual experience. If you are a spiritual person, that you would understand that. So
awesome. Well, Pam, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate this conversation, and we're going to get it out there into the internet and get the conversation going. And if you have any questions, you guys feel free to comment below, and Pam will be more than happy to answer everyone's questions. And
or hit me up on Facebook. Put your questions, comments on Facebook. I'm there, Pam. Pam Grear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Pam, you want to take us out with a favorite quote, a favorite saying, or there was a saying for your mom?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So let me just mention one more thing. When Mom came before she left the hospital, she's 96 years old, right? Mm-hmm. She started drawing. She started drawing all these little kids like this. So this book is full of kids. And so we would say, who are all these kids? These were all, she was a kindergarten teacher back in the day. So she started drawing all her kids that she remembered. Isn't that wonderful? That
is.
She's 94 years old, 95, doing this, drawing all these kids the last probably 2 weeks before her death. She drew all these kids. Look at all these kids. So she had a saying that was, you would say, I love you. And she would say, I'll push you in the pack. And what? We had to finish it. A hug around the neck. So I would get offended. I want you to say, I love you, Mom. But that's what she was saying all these years. I love you, because that's the whole phrase. I forgot who wrote the whole quote, but Doris Day sang a song, a bush you in the pack and a hug around the neck. And she would say that to all the people in her in the facility, in the hospital, wherever she was. They would say, hey, and she would say, I love you. What is it? A bushel and a peck? And love it. And they're like, man, I haven't heard that in years. Or, wow, that is wonderful. So that's how she engaged you. So I would say, we love you. A bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck. And that's what she would do. So I thank you. And so this little children's series is going to be called A Bushel and a Peck series from my mom.
And she passes the mantle down. The legacy continues.
Yeah, and I'm going to do it well.
Do it well. Pam again, and we're going to say good night to everyone.
Yes, thank you all. And just let's communicate. Let's talk about this, because it has to be a movement. We gotta know that we can do better for our loved ones.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you're not alone. Biggest thing is you're not alone. So thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Pam.